Inner peace.
I'm gonna find 'em all.
Inner peace.
I'm gonna find 'em all.
Inner peace.
A seven nation army couldn't hold me back.
Dinner please. Dinner with peas. In a sesame soy glaze.
Okay, you know what? This is not working. Let's just get to the review. After 3 death-defying adventures defeating world-class villains with his unmatched courage and mad martial arts skills, Po, the Dragon Warrior, is called upon by destiny to just give it a rest already, man. What happened to this franchise? What happened to this movie series? Po must train a new warrior when he's chosen to become the spiritual leader of the Valley of Peace. And you know what that means. I have just been promoted to where Master Oogway used to be, that he was for me when I was the Dragon Warrior. If I am no longer the Dragon Warrior and I'm going to be spiritual leader of the Valley of Peace, that means who will be fighting of pure awesomeness after me? Right, that's what we all thought when we first saw the trailer and we first heard this or saw this in the movie. However, when a powerful shape-shifting sorceress sets her eyes on his staff of wisdom, a sorceress by the name of the Chameleon, he suddenly realizes he's going to need some help. But where does he go for help? You would think the Furious Five, but where does he go to for help? A gray fox, a morally gray fox. You're dealing with your favorite Jack that's back in black and white, and and my job is to pick a Dragon Warrior, and I pick a morally gray corsac fox? But then I soon discover that heroes can be found in the most unexpected places, and it doesn't take a full stomach of dumplings to figure that out. Hey, doing that Jack Black impression really do it to your throat, no? Okay, listen. The Kung Fu Panda franchise has been and always will leave a legacy on animation to be one of the most captivating and inspiring film trilogies ever. This is one of those cinematic journeys that has not only been an epic blast to watch with each installment, but it has changed the way we live our lives. We have went from being morally gray with these films almost giving us a black and white perspective on life. And I'm not just talking about seeing pandas all over the place. I'm talking about placing a thin line between good and evil, righteous and wicked. What's pure versus what's filthy, versus what matters versus what doesn't matter. What defines you versus what doesn't define you. But it has changed the way we live our lives in more shades than one. It has taught us so many lessons about potential and the importance of grieving from trauma and not being defined by your past and embracing your destiny and who you are called to be. All these different ethical and philosophical subject matters and executing it brilliantly. This is the type of merit preceding the martial arts that has made our hearts grow fonder of the trilogy as time has gone by. And we are given evidence of this 8 years later following Kung Fu Panda 3. Enter Kung Fu Panda 4. Just one question remains. What happened to this series, man? What happened to this franchise? I understand that long-running franchises have been the norm of cinema for decades as it relates to extending past the trilogy. It has always been the legends say that the masses of movie buffs can agree that just because a certain franchise is iconic, that does not mean it is obligated to become a quadrilogy and beyond. Or what I was reminded of today, new does not ever equate to better. Sometimes it can be new and better, and sometimes it can be just new and existing. You know how many older films you can watch nowadays that you can realize are a lot better than films we get now in Hollywood 50% of the time, and most of those films were probably made on either a lower budget or had deeper meaning behind every single thing in that film. I said this a couple of videos ago. It would be understandable for Gen Alpha to love something and Gen Z does not. If you are Generation Alpha, you will thoroughly enjoy Kung Fu Panda 4 for what it is, because this film is probably your entry point into the Kung Fu Panda franchise. But if you are a Gen Zer, my boy, if you grew up in the 2000s and you were probably in elementary or middle school when the first Kung Fu Panda came out, you know exactly what this series can do when it is at its best. You grew up with Po and Shifu and Master Oogway the Tortoise and the Furious Five and all those well-written villains across 3 different films and Mr. Ping, the Goose Dad, and Noodle Soup. Then you know exactly what makes these movies special. DreamWorks Animation is not in the wrong for wanting to do another Kung Fu Panda film. Why? Because we got another Shrek movie on the way following the success of a Puss in Boots film, y'all. But it is questionable as to why all of the secret ingredients to creating pure awesomeness is M.I.A. It's M.I.A. I'm talking about the main cast of supporting characters, the subliminal moments between those characters, the dramatic and emotional meet and conversations, and of course, the shock and awe-inspiring kung fu sequences that were important to the narrative, and they were just fun to watch and watch over and over and over and over again. Come on! I believe it was in DreamWorks' best interest to completely shy away from this perfect formula in favor of a new trilogy. But the end of something can be the beginning of something else simultaneously. If that is the case, because DreamWorks is supposedly in the works of a Kung Fu Panda 5, if Kung Fu Panda 4 is meant to not just be a 4th installment, but the new beginning of a new trilogy, okay, I'll cut it some slack. I can let it off the hook for being a mid film, because if they could treat this as if nothing from the first 3 movies happened, okay, fine, I understand. We got another generation coming, and Gen Alpha has the chance to grow up with a new type of Kung Fu Panda franchise that just might not be all that compared to what we got in the 2000s and 2010s. You know what I'm saying? If they are to indeed do a new trilogy, then this is the type of movie that I would expect to see in sort of a 5th installment. I guarantee if they had just kept the same formula for what was already there and implemented that as a driving force to determine every creative step, every creative decision, every type of autonomy when making this movie, then Kung Fu Panda 4 would at least be on par with the 3rd installment. But unfortunately, it is superiorly inferior. The lack of these essential elements makes the movie come off like an undercooked dumpling that you just want to loathe for not being as great as you thought it would be after you've been so used to so many good dumplings that were filling you up and satisfying you for the years to come. This includes the absence of the balance between the drama and the comedy. I can't tell you how many times that when we can get to a serious angle or a nuanced angle, it kind of gets chopped off for some lame toilet humor. Well, I won't even say toilet humor, but for some lame cheesy comedies, or for some lame cheesy jokes that were never asked for or that aren't even necessary to the scene. Almost having that Love and Thunder syndrome, you know? The majority of Kung Fu Panda's sense of humor, though, y'all know, is leaned heavily on Jack Black's improvisation on the mic and rockstar energy. And that is something that will never go away. I mean, we're about to get him for the years to come. He's gonna play Bowser more and more in the Super Mario franchise or whatever. As for the newcomers, their lack of substance is not at the fault of the A-list stars, Awkwafina, Viola Davis, and Cuckoo. But once again, these underwhelming additions are symptoms of redundant creative decisions made in vain. Almost as if the casting of these day-listers were more about stunt casting instead of seeing that this actor could bring this thing to this character that we think would add a nuance to the film. Not. With a 71% chance that this film will be fireball for you, Kung Fu Panda 4 to longtime fans of the franchise is what sushi is to anybody who prefers dumplings. Although it is edible to consume, it does not bring that same subliminal and sensational skadoosh feeling like the substance of the original trilogy. So for that, I would say it is just right in the middle. I'd say it deserves about 60 pounds of dumplings out of 100. That's how much in the middle it is. It ain't the worst thing you will ever see, and it certainly isn't even the best Kung Fu movie. In fact, if I were to rate these Kung Fu Panda movies, let me give you the summary. 4, 3, 1, 2. The first film is like second best to the sequel, which the sequel has better action sequences, greater character development, and a phenomenal emotional gravity that will pull you in quite like no other. Almost like tear-jerking scenes that you will not... You can fight off a lot of things. If you had the powers of the Dragon Warrior, you could fight off a lot of things. But what you couldn't fight off was the trauma you would have had to face if you were someone like Poe. But with that being said, whether this is the last time I see you guys or if I see you guys again and again and again, it is always a privilege to come back in black and white as the Jack that you will always keep your eyes on. And until next time,